It is a football Friday here on Birds 365. Your Mac guys, McMullen and McDonald, here to spread good news. I don't know if we're spreading any manure or if we're giving you the facts, Jack, but we will break down the Eagles and the Lions over the next 2 hours. We got less than that before John McMullen is off on a big old jet plane heading to Detroit. J-Mac, are all your reservations ready? Have you hacked it out with the wife as to when you're leaving, when you're coming back? Are you ready to go cover a Birds win?
It's funny you say that. Yeah, I felt like Steve Miller Band there. Big old jet airliner. But, Detroit, it's more the crop duster type small plane. So cross your fingers on that one. But yeah, but I told my wife weeks ago, back to back road games, which I wasn't looking forward to myself, especially coming back from Vegas, which is a grind. But yeah, same thing. You're leaving again this weekend?
You
Yeah,
didn't have
yeah.
to do the crop duster thing to Vegas. They put you on a
No,
real jet plane.
that's a big old jet airliner to Vegas.
What's it take to fly to Detroit?
Not that long. It's like an hour and a half, which half of that is getting on the plane and getting off.
Right.
So it's real quick.
I've actually driven from Detroit to Philadelphia.
It's not bad.
My father spent his couple of years in Detroit. At one point, I purchased a car. Yeah, he made me pay for it, well below market value. But I bought a car off my dad and said he was getting a new car, whatever else. You want the Toyota? Yeah, I'll take the Toyota.
Oh, so, Toyotas, yeah, they run forever. Man.
Right.
That's a good decision.
That 100,000 miles on it lasted for me another 100,000 on top of that. So, yeah, I got on a big old jet plane out of New York. As a matter of fact, that 7 o'clock in the morning, something like that, I was on the fan till 6 a.m. and then just headed over to LaGuardia and got a flight out and then drove my new Toyota that my father sold to me, didn't give to me, sold to me all the way back. And man, did I make good time. That Pennsylvania Turnpike, if you're on it at the right time, you find a big enough truck to follow, you can just cruise along at like 82 miles an hour and not even sweat it. The cops wave to you when you go by them at 82. As long as you're behind a big truck and you're in the slow lane, you can make very good time.
Western Pennsylvania, though, that can get a little tricky when it starts to get some weather with those mountains and the hill. There's some windy stuff up there. I've made that trip too many times.
Me thinks this was like in April or May, so there was no weather involved, just good speed going across. But that's the one and only time I think I've ever flown into Detroit, as a matter of fact. I have not spent quality hours there. Johnny Mac will, and then he will spend quality hours thereafter. What time are you flying back on, or are you coming back on Sunday night?
No, Monday morning, 8 o'clock. So that's going to be a Jeff Kerr day on Birds 365, a non-Johnny Mac day, which, depending on who you are, that could be a good thing or a bad thing.
But I am, and we'll get this away over and done with right at the top, I am predicting an Eagles victory. So I'm predicting a victorious flight return for John McMullen. Not everybody is. I went to the website you contribute for, phillyvoice.com. They put all their quote-unquote experts picks together. 7 guys. 4 of them picked the Eagles. 3 of them picked the Lions, one of which who's picking the Eagles is my partner, John McMullen. But you have the Eagles winning in a rather close game. The 4 guys who picked them, nobody had them winning by more than 4 points. I'm predicting Birds by double digits.
All right. Well, I mean, Detroit's not a good football team. I mean, there's no way to spin 0-7. You can talk about being close in a number of games. You can talk about Justin Tucker and Greg Joseph and long field goals, but a loss is a loss in this league, and it sort of, when you move past it, becomes black and white, and the context is lost. And all people talk about, you see what 2-5 has done to this city. You can imagine what 0-7, and obviously Detroit doesn't have the history, certainly recently, of the Eagles. So that team's been bad for a long time, and there seems to be no hope. There seems to be no hope with the Detroit Lions, and The one thing people do talk about, and Dave Burkett was on this show yesterday from the Detroit Free Press. I've heard it from other people. They haven't stopped playing. They're playing for Dan Campbell, so that part is a positive. And I think the same thing holds true for Nick Sirianni, despite the week and despite the outside noise. Those guys, for the most part, seem to be still playing for Nick Sirianni. So, two struggling rookie coaches. You know, Dan had some interim work, but he's a rookie coach. Yeah, hey, he beat one rookie coach, as you pointed out yesterday, Jody.
Maybe
that's what he needs.
His fellow rookie coaches.
Yeah, maybe that's what he needs. Maybe that's what he needs.
1-0 on the way to 2-0. And oh, by the way, somebody pointed it out this to me yesterday, and it helped me or strengthened my conviction that the Eagles were not only going to win but win by double digits. Yes, the Lions. Most of the Lions games have ended with a score reasonably close, but they've trailed badly in almost every single game. Week 1, they ended up losing by less than one score. They were down by 28 points to the 49ers. They were down 4 touchdowns. Whole bunch of by the way points. Week number 2 against the Packers, they were down by 18 points. Week number 3, in the game in which they had the lead and Tucker kicks the 66-yard field goal with the gun to beat them, they were down 13 points in that game. They were down 13-0. Where am I? I'm up to week number 5.
Minnesota, same thing.
They were losing.
Yeah.
I got it all written down here. The Bengals, they were down
the
Bengals,
whole game. They didn't even have their late run against the Bengals, who are a good football team. I think they're probably the most surprising team in the NFL. I certainly didn't think they'd make that leap forward, but they seem to be a really good team. That was they didn't have the late garbage time stuff there. Yeah, it's a fair point.
They were losing to the Bears 24-7 and the Vikings 16-6. Yeah. So much like the Eagles, because you and I have talked about this plenty, and I think it bears repeating. Jalen Hurts' stats actually look okay. They're not great, but they're not great. Okay. But some people make them out to be god awful, and they're not. Just see where he is in the rankings in the NFL. He's not at the bottom of the list. But a whole bunch of those came in by the way time, where the Eagles are down by several scores, and Jalen's moving it up and down the field and sticking the end zone in the fourth quarter with results and statistics that make no difference whatsoever to the final score of the game. The Lions do the same thing. They fall behind and they get a bunch of points. They made it look. They only got beat by. Well, they got beat. They're 0-7.
The only thing I would say, you're right.
Lose every week.
You're right. The only difference is I would say that, and if you want to throw the Carolina game, because as I said, to me, the Eagles got outplayed by Carolina, but found a way to win the game late with a block punt, some big defensive plays, and Jalen Hurts made a few big plays to win that game. That's one where you say, okay, maybe you stole it a little bit, but then again, I thought they outplayed San Francisco and weren't able to make those types of plays. They lost that game, so that kind of evened out to me. The only thing I would say is that the Lions should have beaten the Ravens and they should have beaten the Vikings. I mean, they should have won those games and those comebacks, whereas the Eagles' comebacks a little bit more, with the exception of Carolina, as I said, a little bit more paper tigerish in the fact that they were never really in the game. I guess if you want to stretch it and say, if they stopped the third down against Tampa Bay, they would have had a chance to tie the game and gotten the football back, but they didn't even do that. So, I would say you're nitpicking, but I would say their comebacks are a little bit more paper tigerish than the Lions, at least in 2 games. That the 2 games they should have won, and that's still 2-5, even if they win them.
Right, and those were, for me, could have won, not should have won. They were when you're down.
Well, they certainly should have beaten Minnesota. They got that 2-point conversion with like 30 seconds left. I mean, the game's over, and they kick it off and they give up 2 big plays for being a stupid young team, and then they kick a long field goal. Now, the Baltimore game, anytime somebody hits a 66-yard field goal, even the greatest kicker of all time, that's you're kind of looking up and saying, "What have I done to you, God? What have I done to you?" And then if you listen to the people in Detroit, it probably should have been a delay of game on top of that, which would have made it a 71-yard field goal. They probably would have made that, by the way. So who cares?
Yeah, Tucker is just that good. You are correct about that. Here's the bottom line. They've lost every single week. They found new and inventive ways to lose, sometimes falling down by 28 points and making a run to get within a score. Oh, they lost. Grabbing a lead late like they did against the Vikings, and then let the Vikings get a tie. And having a lead late and getting beat by a 66-yard field, they just plain lose. They find new ways to lose every single
that
week.
I agree with. Yeah, I mean there's something to say for that. I covered Denny Green way back in the day, and he was the first one. He's probably not the first one to say it, but he used to talk about preseason football, and he used to win preseason games. And I said, why do you care about winning preseason games? Now, he wouldn't play the players, but he would try to win the game late if it was close, with backup players, obviously. And he said winning is a habit, and so is losing. And he's right. I mean, once you start to lose, you see it all the time. Guys start, it's human nature. They start dipping their heads and they start looking for that other shoe to drop. Where's it coming? Oh, here we go again. And then it becomes a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. So winning is a habit, losing is a habit.
The first coach to ever sell me on winning preseason games being important, I remember it, seems like only yesterday and was 30 years ago, was Dick Vermeil. That he always tried to win his preseason games, much like Denny Green. He's not going to keep his starters in longer, but he expected his backups, if they're trailing, they would go to offense with pace and get to the line of scrimmage fast. He tried to win every single game because he firmly believed that there was carryover from game to game to game to game. And he coached that way and was pretty damn successful and a very popular Philadelphia coach. So I started to buy into it myself. And I think John Harbaugh would say he's had some success with that down in Baltimore because he never loses a preseason game. And they're a pretty good football team again this year. J-Mac, I think we discussed this on Tuesday. Didn't go very deep into it. I want to try and get a little bit more out of it today. What do you believe the Deuce factor is in this game? Maybe it was somebody on WIP who said it to me Tuesday night that the Lions are going to go out and win one for Deuce. I don't know.
What about Dave Pitt?
Or Dave
what about Halapula?
No, as a matter of fact, we get the Halapula. That's another reason why I think the Eagles are going to win. The Lions shot their load on their special team kind of out-of-the-box plays this past week against the Rams. 2 fake punts and an onside kick, and they were successful all 3 times. They got nothing left in the magic bag of tricks.
Yeah, well, I think they knew they were outmanned against the Los Angeles Rams, who are a really good team. So they knew they would have to pull out some tricks to win that football game. I don't think they think, from talking to people in Detroit, they think they can play this game and win this game, which I don't necessarily think is the case. So I mean, this happens every week in the NFL. There's so much turnover. You're going to find people on the other team that used to be on your team and vice versa. I mean, do the Eagles want to win one for Darius Slay? I mean, he loves Detroit. Other than Matt Patricia, he's thrilled to be going back. Avonte Maddox has a Lions tattoo on, he's such a big Lions fan. He grew up in Detroit, went to high school there. Are they going to win one for Avonte? He's going home. It's going to have about 40, 50 people there. No, that kind of stuff doesn't matter. I mean, Deuce was very popular here, and you can make an argument that Jeffrey Lurie should have looked at him a little bit harder. Ultimately, I don't have a problem with the thought process that he probably wasn't ready to be a head coach. And why I say that is nobody else is interviewing the guy either. I mean, it's not like he's a hot candidate and there's steps you have to go through. And by the way, that's one of the criticisms of hiring Nick Sirianni, because people think he wasn't ready to be a head coach. That was the only interview. So from that standpoint, you could say, all right, why go outside the organization for somebody you don't know versus somebody who's been here for 20 years that you do know and kept through Chip Kelly and actually Andy Reid and Chip Kelly and Doug Peterson, and he's assistant head coach. He took over for Doug when Doug had COVID and all that kind of stuff. That's a Jeffrey Lurie question. But as far as the Lions are going to win one for Deuce, they're going to bite kneecaps for Dan Campbell. How's that working?
So far, to the tune of 0-7. And my thought on Deuce has always been they weren't going to hire him.
No.
Is he going to be a good head coach someday? Will he get the chance and prove to be a good head coach? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I didn't know enough about Deuce. And yes, he did certain things that were nice prep work to eventually become an NFL head coach. He seems like a real good dude, so I'm rooting for him to get the chance somewhere. But if you ask me to make a prediction whether he'd be successful or not, I got no idea. I don't feel that strongly one way or the other that just give him a job, he's going to be great, or go ahead and hire him, but it's not going to work out. I don't feel either of those two things. I'm kind of sitting very much on the fence with Deuce. But one thing I'm not on the fence with is he had no chance to be the coach here, ever, because he's outspoken. He's not afraid to tell you what he thinks. He's a take charge kind of guy. He believes that he can get the job done and knows what he's doing. Eagles didn't want that as their next head coach. They wanted a very malleable guy. They wanted a guy that would grow like a flower, and they would be the ones tending the garden every single day, deciding exactly how the flower would grow. And if the flower got a little too big, like Doug Peterson did last year, that's not a problem. We'll just pull him right out of the ground and move on and plant another flower. That's what they were looking for. Deuce was coming straight to the soil as an oak tree, and they were not going to hire an oak tree to be their next head coach.
Boy, Nick Sirianni is not going to outlive. He's not going to let this flower thing down.
The flower narrative is here to stay, Johnny Mac.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. But as far as Deuce, I honestly look. I agree with you. They were never going to hire him, but I think it's for different reasons. I don't think it's because of Malleable. I mean, if there's any guy that they kept around, as I said, for 2 decades essentially, when you talk about his playing career and his coaching career, and obviously he had the little stint when he was gone as a player, but 2 decades in the organization through 3 head coach, they thought this guy was pretty malleable. That wasn't the problem. The problem was, and again, this is where the disconnect is between the fan base and the ownership. Deuce is Deuce. Deuce would come in and run the team and want to run the football and play in 1985 style football when he was a player and that type of thing. And Jeffrey Lurie doesn't want that. I mean, he doesn't want that. It's, when Jeff McClain came out with the story that Brandon Staley didn't interview with the Eagles, which was known, he turned down an interview. Now, Jeff reported that he turned it down because of Howie Roseman. Well, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. He was going to take the Chargers job anyway because he's from there. He have Justin Herbert, which any coach is going to take that guy. But, people are missing, they're burying the lead. Jeffrey Lurie isn't going to hire a defensive coach. He did it once when he was a first-time owner, and that was it. He's not going to do it again. The league, and even then, the league has shifted so much. So if you're Brandon Staley and you're Brandon Staley's representation, You know, he wants to talk to you for the public relations aspect of it because it's a hot candidate and you want to look like you're doing your due diligence. But they know he's not hiring a defensive coach. And the same thing is, with Deuce Staley. He's not hiring a guy who wants to run the stinking football. He's not doing it. I mean, that's not what he wants. That's
Correct.
what it has to be. That's what it's about.
But as I said, if he were malleable, he'd come in and say, "Yes, Mr. Laurie, I'll run whatever kind of offense you want."
I'll say this because I do think he was a long-time team employee. He got along with everybody. It's not about being malleable as far as, okay, Deuce, you're going to be the head coach, but you got to throw the football. It's about that's not his expertise, So then you're going to have to hire an offensive coordinator, which, by the way, maybe wouldn't be a bad way to go, because I think head coaching positions, and I say this all the time, are about leadership more than anything else. As long as you got somebody else to be able to scheme the stuff, and you could have went about it in a different way, but that's not how the Eagles think. We had that discussion a while ago. They claim they're innovative. They're not innovative at all. They follow the leader. They do what everybody else does. They're not thinking outside the box. So they wanted an offensive coach who can scheme, and people are laughing at this because they say, I can already picture it because they say, well, Nick Sirianni can't do that. Well, yeah, but they thought he could. Whether he can or he can't is not what I'm trying to say. They thought he could, and they thought he was that type of coach. Now, if he is or he isn't, we'll see as this continues to go on. They don't want that type of coach that's going to run the football and act like Mike Zimmer and play defense and punt the football and flip the field. And by the way, they're right in that aspect, that small aspect of it. They're right. That's not the way the modern game is played. And you see you see the game yesterday, touchdown. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have any receivers, and he almost scored 3 straight touchdowns. He's got guys who don't even know how to line up, and it's touchdown against an undefeated team. That's the NFL today. That's the NFL.
Yeah, but it ended up 24-21, which actually was an under. And it was a key defensive play by an ex-Eagle.
That's what you hope.
Russell Douglas coming up huge. Forget about Aaron Rodgers and his touchdowns. Russell Douglas won the game for the Packers last night. It helps
that AJ Green doesn't turn his head in that type of situation. That's a veteran player. What were there, 14 seconds left? What does he think is done? It's a running play? What do you think? You're out of timeouts. They just used their last timeouts. God bless Rasul. I mean, he got lucky. The ball came his way, and he made a great catch.
Yeah, nice catch.
But I mean, if AJ Green turns his head, he's the GOAT. He's not the hero.
Right. But if Russell Douglas drops that, we got a field goal. Boom, going to overtime. That game still could be going on.
Oh, he made a great catch. Yeah,
Johnny on the spot.
That was always Rasul. Rasul had good ball skills. He really did. He did.
By the way, quick question. Then we got to take our first break, and Mr. Football Friday, Ed Kracz, is going to join us. Is that just a read route? With 14 seconds left, they're actually calling a play where the quarterback and the wide receiver don't know what each other are going to do. You're just hoping that they have some ESP going and they know exactly what path. Does that really happen in the NFL?
Oh my God.
Go out and I'll get it to you.
Oh my God. Air raid, Jody. Air raid. Where does Cliff Kingsbury come from? You got to be on the same page. That's all you do. I tell you this all the time. What do you practice? That's what you run in the game. And that's why people think Arizona's offense is not sustainable long term. Now, that's a different argument. Some people think it is. Some people think it isn't. But that's modern football. That's modern football. You saw it, and there's good to it, and there's bad to it.
Right. And my take is, I get it. And if it can work for you, and shoot, they were undefeated before last night, so it's working pretty damn well, and they're scoring a lot of points. 14 seconds left, you got to put it aside and go back to old school football, call a play, run a play, so the receiver knows what he's doing, the quarterback knows what the receiver's doing, and you don't have AJ Green never turn his head on the last offensive play of the game.
You don't run what you don't practice, Jody. You don't play air raid in practice and run old school football in the game.
And that's poor practice on Cliff Kingsbury. You got to be able to now say, guys, we're going to air raid it 90% of the time. But with 14 seconds left on the 3-yard line, we got to have a designated play. Sorry, Cliff, that's bad practice habits on you. Even though he's incorporated Zach Ertz pretty quickly. 4 catches last night.
Yeah,
Zach
looks
like he's been a Cardinal. Maybe he's an air raid guy. I don't know.
He looks faster.
Yeah,
all of a sudden he looks quicker and faster.
Got a little something extra in his giddy up. All right, we're going to giddy up on out of here. Coming back with our bud, Ed Kracz, Johnny's co-worker at Sports Illustrated. He's going to join us on a Football Friday here on Birds 365.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. 1 free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia, we celebrated the miracle with pride only 5 years ago. And then the following morning, IBEW Local 98 members went back to work, building this city, rescuing our communities from decay, and inspiring the young men and women of the region to take pride in who we are. Like the Cats, Local 98 members believe in hope. John Doherty, business manager of Local 98, says it this way: the best way not to forget where you come from is to never leave.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
7 on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Johnny Mac, I'm Jody Mac. That makes us Mac and Mac. That makes it Birds 365. As you can tell, it's just the 3 of us for now. We'll pull the curtain back a little bit on how this stuff works on this show, other shows, whatever. Yours truly gets us in and out to break. And I feel badly when we ask someone to come on at a specific time and I see their face pop up and they're ready to go. And then we have to go to break.
Yeah,
and they've got to sit there for 3.5 minutes while we sell stateside vodka. And I feel bad. So that's why every once in a while I will anticipate and I will throw the break before I actually see our next guest face pop up as joining the stream. And then you hope that their face pops up joining the stream so that when you come back and you just, hey, look who's here with us. It's our buddy Ed Kurtz. Kracz. Kurtz, you know where I'm going. Yeah. And we haven't been able to run down Mr. Kracz.
I think he's sleeping.
You think he's sleeping? He went to sleep on you. Your buddy, your boy, your partner, You've been dancing with Kracz a hell of a lot longer than you've been dancing with me. Doing your little videos together. He just blew you off. What the hell?
Hey, man, it happens. This is a busy time of year. I do this all the time, really. And I say, somebody will ask, but I did it to Ricky in Las Vegas. We had Ricky Ricardo on the show.
And why'd you tell him? I covered for you. I said you were asleep because you had the first thing in the morning.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. You get so busy. You get I saw the text message and I said, all right, when I get back to my hotel, I'll text Ricky I can come on. And I just totally forgot because I'm doing other stuff and I'm doing, I'm writing and then bang, and then you feel bad afterwards. And Ed's like, yeah, I'll do the show at 8:20. And I don't know because he hasn't texted me yet. I'm guessing he's got 16 other things he's got to do. And then, it slips your mind. That's what happens.
This is just you and I, right? There's no one else watching at this time. Just between you and I. He went out early to Vegas, right?
He did, yes.
And he stayed later in Vegas,
and
right?
He stayed late. Yeah.
Stayed late, got out and brought the missus with him, right?
Yes.
What do you think the chances are Ed Kracz is getting lucky right now? We know
possibility.
We know he got lucky out in Vegas. You don't bring your wife to Vegas if you don't think you're going to get lucky. So he's getting up for a little Friday morning delight. What do you think?
Man, it's a possibility.
Okay. I've never met
his
wife.
More likely that
he's looking at the inside of his eyelids rather than
staring
longly into Mrs. Kratz's eyes. Is that what you're telling me, Johnny Mac?
More likely he's getting yelled at than getting lucky.
Hopefully he heard your text go through. His phone dinged on his night table and he said, "Oh shoot, I forgot." Bird 365. All right. Well, we're hoping to get Ed Kracz up. Jeff Kerr just texted me back. He said he would hop on. I realized we get Jeff on twice during the week because depending on your travel schedule, Monday's a possibility. He was on the entire show on Monday. And then Wednesday with COVID testing, usually Jeff hops on as well, but he couldn't do it this Wednesday. So that's why I had Johnny, Eddie, the boss man, Joe Krause, and Barrett Brooks for our Tuesday show, our Wednesday show. So I thought, let's get Kerr up. Let him talk a little bit about the Lions. He said he will hop on at 9:20. So we'll see if Ed Kracz
gets it's
up.
like an NFL game. You got to adjust, Jody. We adjusted well. The Eagles have not adjusted well at times this season. Certainly the Detroit Lions have not adjusted well at times.
Here's the key. I'm actually, now maybe this is misguided, but I think Jonathan Gannon is going to adjust this week. He did say they need to get a little bit more aggressive. What was the word he used? God, now I can't think of it. Challenging. He's going to get his defense is going to get up and challenge a little bit more than they have in the first 7 games of the week.
Yeah, you know what that means. I'm not sure of my Michigan cities, so don't hold me to this, but that means the safeties are going to play in East Lansing instead of Flint. So
there you go.
Maybe they'll get 15 yards within the line of scrimmage. Yeah, I mean, Steve Nelson was great because Steve was on Mark Barzetta's show, who does the JAKIB Media post-game show with Derek Gunn and Devin Caney and yours truly sometimes, but he called it genius. They just have to fix a couple things. He called the scheme genius. So we got Steve yesterday. I asked him that. So what's genius about the scheme? And it is taking away the big play is genius. Which and ironically, the Eagles have done that for the most part. The Eagles remain near the top of the league in not allowing explosive plays.
Right.
They were number 2. I forget what they are this week. They're still up there. But, obviously they give up 80%. Last week it was 90% completion percentage. There's got to be a happy medium there. There's got to be a happy medium there.
And they haven't been able to find it yet. And I'd come up a little short of calling it genius, but if that's what Steven Nelson sees, so be it. Here was a question I was hoping we get Ed on because I wanted to put them and you as well. you're not as what's the right word, vexed by the whole flower analogy that the coach put out there. You shake your head every single time someone references
Doesn't
it.
bother
Usually
me.
me.
Well, because I've talked to a lot of people now, and and they're not lying. I mean, one guy was like, they were. Now, I will say the version the Eagles got in the meeting room was different than the one you got. There were a lot of F-bombs dropped in there, and they left that meeting fired up, if anything.
You tell me it was an effing plant when the coach was describing
it's
it.
Funny. It's funny. It's funny how a couple F words can change something for people. But I do think, people think football, tough guys, you can't talk about flowers. They don't give a shit about that stuff. They really don't. The method, and they were fired up when they left that meeting to the point where the Eagles even offered to show some of us video of the meeting. It did not go over the way people think it went over. That's all I'm saying. And look, I get it. When I heard the flower thing originally, I said, "Oh," but I said, "Oh," because I knew how people outside the building would take it. It wasn't about, it makes sense, the analogy. And the bigger part of the thing for me is it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if they're fired up. Doesn't matter if they rolled their eyes. Doesn't matter. This team's issues are about personnel and scheme. And how do you fix those two particular things? I don't care if Nick Sirianni wants to talk about flowers. So everybody's having this argument, and the players were fired up. I know that for a fact. They didn't take it the way the fan base took it. But neither side matters. They're battling, sort of not battling, but whatever you want to call it, over something that doesn't matter at the end of the day. Steven Nelson called it genius, as I said, the defensive scheme. Well, show it then. Show it. If it's genius, execute it. Same thing offensively. If Nick Sirianni's, we just talked about, versus Deuce Staley, if he's a better play caller, better play schemer, better play develop, show it. Show it. That's the problem.
And my problem was whether he spiced it up for the players and they were more motivated / moved by it. Good for Sirianni. If he wanted to specifically go down this road and make this point, and he knew how to sell it to his players, that's good. And I hope it does work. And I hope it comes out and shows itself on Sunday against the Lions. But if you have to do two different types of speeches for two different audiences, well, then you got to be smart enough to do it well for your other audience. And I don't know that there was a good way to do it. If he was heck bent on having a plant growing analogy to motivate and show where the Eagles are at this stage, I question whether he should even go down that road. If he's going to do it for the media, which is in earnest for the fans, no, it just doesn't work.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think the messaging has been bad at times for both of them. And I've talked about that with Jonathan Gannon as well. But I don't know, and I say this all the time, I don't know what people want because they hate the Andy Reid type. And I got to do a better job. We all know how that went over at the end. Anybody who listens to Shane Steichen, if they want to hear that, I mean, that's torture to me. I enjoy when Nick shares his thoughts. Kind of a goofy guy, as I said. I don't have a problem with it. But I don't have a problem with it because I think it's better than the alternative. I don't think it helps. I don't think it hinders. And the more important part of his job gets lost in the translation of the press conference stuff. And it's like the original the introductory press conference. It's like, well, he's nervous, probably ill prepared. You could say all that legitimately. Didn't matter at the end of the day. I just think people put too much weight on that kind of stuff.
Fair enough. And I think the flower conversation will stop at 1 o'clock on Sunday when they kick it off in Detroit against the Lions. And if you tell me the players were fired up by it, I don't know that it will have any impact on the game. But if it does, hopefully it has a positive one. Here's the bottom line. Can the Eagles actually get some pressure on Jared Goff? Because Jared Goff is a potted plant when it comes to playing quarterback. He doesn't move much. He drops back. He's in the pocket. He's there. He could have a target on his back. He's not going to get out of the pocket and make plays against you. The Lions have given up, I believe it's 17 sacks, which is somewhere in the top 10 of most sacks given up. That has been one of the downsides to the Eagles defense this year. The bend but don't break defense. They don't bring blitzes. And by the way, the 4 guys up front who are supposed to be able to get pressure just haven't been able to do so. Is this the week? Well, Javon Hargrave has. Fletcher Cox gets doubled all the time. Yeah. We know that narrative. But Hargrave was playing very well last couple of weeks, not near as much as the first 5. And the guys on the ends. Eagles going to get any pressure on a very hittable Detroit quarterback in Jared Goff?
Yeah, one of the things I learned about the Lions, you learn things each week when you delve into the team that the team you cover is playing. And one of the things I learned about the Lions is they throw everything underneath. I mean, their 2 best receivers are a running back and a tight end. DeAndre Swift, obviously the Philly kid, went to St. Joe's Prep, and TJ Hawkinson, the tight end. The receivers, nobody knows him. Khalif Raymond's playing. Amon Ross St. Brown, Sequominius, his brother, who we saw last night for Green Bay. They lead the league in yards after catch. The Detroit Lions. Now, you say, hey, that seems good. Well, is it? Because they're just getting the football out quickly.
Right. If you're catching it 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, then it's not all that important.
Exactly. So to me, it's really about, tackling, and that's been an issue for the Eagles. So if they get that swing pass to Swift, you got to get them down quickly. But if you're looking for that big sack game, and I know everybody wants that big sack game, I don't think it's coming again because Goff's getting the ball out quickly. And you mentioned the number of sacks. They don't have a great offensive line, especially not great since they lost their best player by far is Ragnow. He's out. He's one of the best centers in football. Sewell's getting better, but he's a rookie, obviously, and you know how rookies tend to struggle. It's not a great offensive line, but they don't allow you to get a high number of sacks.
All right, we are the Mac guys here on Birds 365. We know Jeff Kerr is going to join us in hour number 2. We're
still waiting for Ed to wake up.
We're waiting on Ed Kracz to join us. We'll take a quick break. Maybe Ed Kracz will be here with us when we come back next here on Birds 365.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. 1 free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia, we celebrated the miracle with pride only 5 years ago. And then the following morning, IBEW Local 98 members went back to work, building this city, rescuing our communities from decay, and inspiring the young men and women of the region to take pride in who we are. Like the Cats, Local 98 members believe in hope. John Doherty, business manager of Local 98, says it this way: the best way not to forget where you come from is to never leave.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. 1, 2, 3. Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Football Friday here on Birds 365. Right here winning. So is Johnny Mac. He's picking Eagles too. Just not with as much fervor as I am, because I say they're going to win by double digits. I think.
I wish I could pick no one in this game. Is that possible?
You can always pick a tie, buddy.
That's true.
It's not like we've never seen one in Philadelphia. It was just about a year ago today that they had the infamous tie with the Bengals when Doug Peterson.
You got to play the odds, though. Tie remains unlikely, especially now. Somebody will go for a 2-point conversion. Detroit's already proven they'll go for a 2-point conversion.
True, but they'll also figure out a way to lose on a long field goal. And we know Jake Elliott can make 60-yarders when need be. 39-yarders, that can be a problem. But 60-yarders, Jake is great at. And you and I don't think we ever talked about this because Doug Peterson was already let go by the time Birds 365 started. We probably talked about it on WIP last year on the week that it was on, but I don't think we've ever done it on this show. I had zero problems with Doug Peterson punting in that game last year against the Bengals. I thought it was the right thing to do, that a tie was better than a loss. He played for a tie, no questions asked, but it was better than not converting and watching Cincinnati kick the field goal and actually win the game. I thought he did the right thing. Now, I said it at the time. I believed at the time. I still believe it today. We also know what happened the rest of the season.
Yeah.
The Birds just kept losing game after game after game. At the time, they were still kind of in the mix. And I know they were in the mix all the way till week 16 of that season, but they ended up at 4-11-1. So in 2020 hindsight, yeah, I probably would have liked to see Doug Peterson go for it then. But at the time, I was perfectly cool with the tie.
No, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, a tie can actually help you in these types of circumstances if you're going for a playoff. I just got an Ed Kracz. Yeah, he was sleeping. Never set his alarms.
All right, so Kracz will be hopping on in any.
Yeah, I don't know. Now he's asking to do 9:20, so we might lose Ed Kracz because we're gonna have Jeff Kerr. But anyway, what can you do? These things happen live on streaming shows, and you're at the mercy of guests. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with the tie because if you're still in it, and we've seen it happen numerous times where a tie will help a team and get them into the playoffs. And you have to think about that way. But when you get to desperation level and both these teams are there, you're not going to get a tie because somebody is going to go for a 2-point conversion at the end of the game instead of kicking the extra point, which I think Dan Campbell would do. I wonder if Nick Sirianni would do that. I think Nick Sirianni would play for the tie, but
in that particular situation.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, Doug was a very aggressive coach when it came to 2-point conversions, going for it on fourth
No,
down.
I mean at the end of the game, not the exact Cincinnati in overtime, but if like Detroit had a chance to tie in Minnesota with 30 seconds left, they could have kicked the extra point and tied the game, went to overtime. They decided to go for two, made it, and lost the game anyway.
Lost anyway, right.
I think in that type of circumstance, where you're looking at a tie with an extra point late in the game, I think Campbell would go for it again, so you wouldn't have a tie. I'm wondering if Nick Sirianni would do that. You know, at the desperation level, maybe you'd do it. I don't think he'd do it if he were 4-3, say.
My guess would be he would kick the extra point and leave it to the genius scheme that is Jonathan Gannon's defense. Just a guess on my part. All right. Again, pulling back the curtain. Text Kracz and tell him get his finely trimmed beard on this show because we need him. And even if it's just a 10-minute segment, I want to get him on record because he's been more optimistic than you. Maybe even more optimistic than me.
He's way more optimistic than me, but he picked the Eagles typically, but he picked the Eagles to lose this week.
Really? Then I want to hear him. Get him on the line. Text his, you know what? Get him on here. We need him to hop aboard. I'm going to ream him if he's picking against the Eagles. But here's good news, Eagle fans, if you're looking for good news. In addition to the Eagles winning on Sunday, which in this specific conversation might not be good news, the Eagles' other potential first-round draft picks, I think, will be enhanced this week. The Miami Dolphins play against the Buffalo Bills. A little bit of a mismatch. Those two teams have already met this year, and it was blowout central. The Bills have beaten the Dolphins, I think it's 6 out of the last 7 times they played. Josh Allen has stone cold owned the Dolphins. I think it's going to be a competitive game. That's one of the games I would play this week. I would definitely take the Dolphins plus 13.5 points, get almost 2 touchdowns. Tua Tagovailoa, open edition for the Philadelphia Eagles and or anybody else. If the Deshaun Watson trade should get done either, I guess it's going to be Monday. As of today, if it doesn't get done today, won't get done on Saturday and or Sunday. They may get it done on Monday. I think Tagovailoa will have a good game on Sunday and tease us all that he could be a guy who could be acquired. But I do think the Dolphins are going to lose, which is going to help the Eagles as far as the status of the Dolphins' first-round draft pick. And Carson Wentz against the Titans, I'm surprised. They're actually a favorite in that game, Johnny Mac.
They're playing well.
A 1-point choice over the Titans. Now, I guess the line of thinking is a little bit of a letdown for the Titans because they've won the big games that they have the last several weeks. Not in a division game, not with the team that's closest to you in the standings in your division. You think Tennessee's going to have a letdown this week and Carson Wentz is going to make it 3 in a row?
I don't know, but I think it's good if the Colts win, you know how I think. I think, what the Eagles want to happen when it comes to the draft picks is, have 2 in the top 10, which is going to be Miami's pick and their own pick. And then they want Indianapolis to be in the 16 to 20 range. And then maybe I'm talking about people that want them to take all 3 first-round picks and want them to use them all. If they have 3 near the top 10, and I'm not even getting to at what point will Indy shut down Carson Wentz if they, have a top 10 pick. They're not going to use 3 top 10 picks. The money and when guys are in that range, they would just trade one of them most likely for a 2023 first round pick, go back and do something of that nature. If you want them to keep them all, you need Indianapolis to win some games.
See what I think trading for potential first round picks, and I'm probably not giving Howie Roseman the proper credit that he deserves, because if Howie's been good at anything, it's been playing the draft pick game. Now, it's one of those things that if you make the wrong bet, it doesn't matter. You can make the right craps roll, but if you don't have the right money on the right number, well, then you don't get paid. No matter how good you look, it doesn't much matter. Howie Roseman's real good at maneuvering around the draft board, but then they don't pick the right players. So it kind of goes by the board. But I think trading for a future first-round draft pick, a current one that you have for a future one, that's a losing proposition because you never know where the pick is going to land. You say that they'll trade one of their own pick. They might end up trading their own pick if they keep the top two and use both of them, and that's the Colts, or they trade the Colts pick if it turns out to be one. Yeah, but then what happens if you trade the 16th pick of the draft and the team you traded to turns out to be very good and you're getting back in exchange the 28th pick in the draft? That does not look well. That does not bode well. I'd be real careful with that. What I'd rather do if I were Howie Roseman is trade down. You give up the first round, but you get immediate payoff by getting picks in the draft next year rather than have to wait a year for it. You got those three.
Yeah,
picks.
that's a possibility as well. You just trade down in the first round to a place where you're a little bit more comfortable. But something of that nature is more likely than taking, 2, 6, for lack of argument, in 10. I mean, they're not taking 2, 6, and 10. Yeah, I don't think it's never happened before for a reason. And unfortunately, salary cap is part of this. And you'd like to say just get the players, but you got to be realistic about it as well.
You got to be able to play that game too, and that's one that Howie has been aggressive in playing over the years. And right now, the Eagles have salary cap flexibility in it. If they wanted to do something, add a player, they could. They've got space in this year, but they'd rather just carry that over into next year's cap. We'll see how that plays itself out. But I think both the Colts. You saying you think you're actually rooting for the Colts to win this week? Because I'm not.
Well, I'm rooting
for
anybody, but I think it's better for the Eagles. As I said, if you get two top 10 picks, which they're on track with their own in Miami, and then the Colts win some games and they're in that 20 range. I think that's 18 to 20 is probably the best case scenario for the Eagles.
I think it'll be in the high teens, but that's okay. And by the way, I don't think they beat the Titans this week. I got strong feelings about a bunch of games in the NFL this weekend, one of which is the Eagles. I've got them winning by double-digit points at some point.
There he is.
There he is.
In. Yeah.
All right. We can spend a couple. Oh, that's what he needed. That's why he wasn't ready to come on. He hadn't had his coffee yet. Kracz needed his coffee. That's why he's hopping on with us now.
Wiping the eyes. See, that was my guess.
Yeah.
Cody had a much more intriguing guess. I'm like, Ed probably just, because the same thing happens to me. I did it to poor Ricky Ricardo. I was telling Jody. I was going to get back to my hotel room in Vegas and text Ricky and say, I'll come on. I just totally forgot. I just totally spaced it off. We get a lot of requests this time of year, so I'm assuming Ed just spaced it off.
Well, I wish I had some better excuse, guys. Like I hit the Powerball or something really good and juicy.
Well, Jody had a good one. You were getting lucky. That's what he had.
I thought this was just a carryover from your weekend foray in Vegas, that the missus was still amorous.
It was almost a week we were out there, Jody. It felt like a month. We went out early and came back late, but man, I feel like I've been gone for a month. I'm still catching up. Let's put it that way.
We're glad you caught up with us for at least a couple of minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
McMullen tells me you're picking the Lions.
I just can't, get sucked back into this Eagles trap. I mean, I picked them last week against the Raiders and, paid the penalty there. It was a blowout. And I just think the Lions are playing really good football, better than what the Eagles are playing.
0-7, Ed. How can they be playing really good football and be 0-7?
The best 0-7 team in the NFL.
The only 0-7 team in the NFL. They're the worst friggin' team in the NFL.
Yeah, listen, I know. And you look at the rosters, and clearly the Eagles have a better roster, but the Lions are going to get off the schneid one of these days. They're not going to go 0-16. I don't think. I don't think. And this is a real good opportunity for the Lions. And that's the way I think they're looking at this is, hey, we can finally win this game.
Their Super Bowl. They think they can win this game.
Yeah, I just think this is a big game for the Lions, as it is for the Eagles, obviously. But, boy, the way Philadelphia's playing, it's just hard to really put my chips in, on their side of this. I really think the Lions are going to give them a game. They've lost a couple games by field goals. I think this is the game where the Lions are going to win by a field goal.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me.
Just go back to bed. If you can't believe the Eagles are going to win this game, go back to friggin'
I have the Eagles winning the game by Jake Elliott 54-yard field goal or something of that nature.
Wow.
So I think it's going to be that close in the game. So I can see it. Obviously, if you're that close, any the football going one way or the other can shift the game. But I do want, because of what's gone on this week, Ed, and Flower Power and how much hype that's gotten. Again, being away, I think, helps the Eagles. I said that last week in Las Vegas because of how much criticism they're under locally. Yeah. But what is your take on just how this week has gone and how everyone has reacted to that press conference and that analogy? Is it overblown, or is it a bigger deal than I make it out to be?
No, listen, I agree. Being on the road probably helps the Eagles. I thought it would help in Vegas last week. It didn't. They've won both their games on the road in Carolina and in Atlanta. So, yeah, I think there is something to that. As far as what this week with the whole flower analogy, listen, at the time that it came out, I was rolling my eyes, and I
think everybody was.
Everybody was, and you wonder, geez, how can the players listen to this kind of message and not roll their eyes also? But as the time passes and you think, okay, well, he mixed in a couple F-bombs, I guess, with it. He was a little bit more motivational than just, oh, here's a flower and here's the roots and, oh, we're going to water and we're going to fertilize. Yeah, and we're going to pop. I think there was a
lot of sexual innuendo in that, by the way, which people didn't pick up on. But go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. But, I just think that there was a little bit more to it than that, a little bit more motivational than just that. And so, when a couple hours pass, you start to think, okay, well, I'm sure there was more to it than that. And then we talked to the players, and they also said that, listen, he has a unique way of telling stories, and they're still buying in. And listen, this probably would have been a cute little story had the Eagles been 5-2 and not 2-5. Yeah. Just like when, he showed his videos of Kobe Bryant and all that stuff at the start of training, during training camp, when we all made a big deal of that. We thought, hey, that's pretty cool. Good emotional or good motivational type stuff. So had this been a team that's 5-2 and he's talking about flowers, then maybe it's like, this Sirianni guy, he's pretty cool, but they're 2-5, and it's not a good look that he's showing professional football players, grown men, images of flowers.
Eddie K, is this the week we say Boston Scott to the rescue? He got his fair share of carries last week when Miles Sanders went out. We know Sanders is out for Sunday again. People are talking about someone being promoted from the practice squad at the running back position, Jordan Howard. Probably going to happen. But I got to believe that Boston Scott is going to be the main carrier of the football on Sunday. I know they want to throw the football more than run it. If they're going to run it, they're going to let Jalen Hurts run it. But I think that Boston Scott could actually be sitting on a big game. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I've always liked Boston Scott. I've always thought he had a role in this offense. I was kind of surprised when, the first 6 games go by and he really didn't have a role in this offense. That job as Miles Sanders' backup went to the rookie Kenny Gainwell. And Gainwell had a really big fumble there at the end of the first half in Vegas. The Eagles, maybe they score points. They're down 14-7 at the time. The Raiders take advantage of that and kick a field goal and go up 17-7 at halftime. That's a big mistake by the rookie. I think Gainwell is going to be the guy that's going to get a lot of the reps, but you're going to see some Boston Scott too. And if Gainwell makes another mistake early, I'd be surprised if we saw him and this doesn't go to Boston Scott and even Jordan Howard. But I've always liked Scott. I think he's a very quick, a very explosive player. I think he hits the holes hard when he gets the ball in the run game. And, of course, he can catch the ball and turn it upfield and make some plays that way, too. So I'm excited about this being a possible Boston Scott game. But I think right now they're going to try to get Gainwell involved early, and then maybe they'll mix in Scott. And if something happens with Kenny Gainwell with a mistake, then I think Boston Scott's role will grow in the game.
Well, I'm going to tell you guys why this is not going to be a Boston Scott game. Well, two reasons, actually. One is it's not the New York Giants. Then we know that's when Boston shows up, again, when the Giants are on the schedule. But the second reason, the more important reason, is you go back to week 2 in San Francisco. They were down 2 starting corners, and we all know how Nick Sirianni went about that, and it didn't work. Now, this week, the Lions are already down 2 starting corners, so they're playing 2 rookie free agents, Jerry Jacobs and A.J. Parker in the slot. And, oh, by the way, A.J. Parker's probably not going to play, and Jerry Jacobs missed practice with an illness. So they're even further down on the depth chart. He's going to throw the football, and I don't know if it's going to work. I mean, they can't throw the football, but he's going to see that what Detroit is trotting out at cornerback and say, how do you not throw the football?
Well, that's good points. But listen, this Sirianni tried to run the ball in Vegas. He came up under center a few times to try to run the ball. I think he's going to try to run the football at least a little bit. I know the Lions are short-staffed at the corner position, but I just think he's going to try to run this ball, and I think he's going to try to control the game and assert some physicality on the Lions. I mean, to just go back to what was not working in previous weeks after, let's face it, it worked a little bit. The Eagles ran the ball pretty well against Vegas. They just fell behind by so big of a number that they really couldn't keep doing that. So I think that they're going to try to run the ball. I really do. I think, Sirianni sees that that's what they kind of need to do to get this offense going now. How much he runs and versus the throw, I don't know, but I think they're going to try to run the ball a little bit more than they have in the past and not just rely on the throw. And even in the throwing game, even in the passing game, John, I think Boston Scott has a role. I like him on those wheel routes, and you're right, he plays well against the Giants, but, I think he's just a good player overall and somebody that, they should use, whether he's running it or throwing him the ball, kind of like they use Gainwell on those short underneath crosses or, even a wheel route. Let's see a wheel route or two coming out of the backfield with him.
The Eagles will be up 14-3 at the half, knowing they're getting the ball at the second half because they'll win the toss, and of course they will defer. But despite that, they get up 14-3. And I don't think even Jeff Lurie can complain if you're up 14-3 at half and you start your second half, come out, run the football down the other team's throats. Milk the clock up 14-3.
Listen, I know people don't like to run the ball, but look at the Packers last night in that, against the Cardinals. I mean, they ran the heck out of the football. I know they didn't have any wide receivers and stuff.
They were down everybody at wide receiver.
Yeah, but boy, those 2 running backs they had ran hard, and the Eagles have running backs that will run hard. I just like, I know you're not going to win a game by running the ball, though the Packers kind of showed that you can. But I just think that there's a physicality. I think Brandon Staley said that when he was asked about the running game, the coach out in Los Angeles who brings his Chargers here next week, that you need that running game to bring the physicality to your offense. And, I agree with that 100%. And listen, the Eagles, by not running the ball, whether it's Jeffrey Lurie's edict or, just the way Nick Sirianni likes to play, they're making a mistake. I think they need to find ways to run the ball at least, 15 times a game, if not more. And that's more than just Jalen Hurts, running for his life, scrambling, on a pass play. I want to see these designed runs, and I want to see them assert their physical. This is a big offensive line that they need to take better advantage of.
Yeah, I wonder if you think about, obviously the Packers, as you mentioned, Ed, no Devontae Adams, no Scantling, no, they were Alan Lazard didn't play as well, so they were down to their 4th, 5th, and 6th receivers. And oh, by the way, Aaron Rodgers can still make some plays, but you're right, they went run heavy. My question is, do you think the shareholders went to Matt LaFleur and said you can't win the football game that way? Because that's what Doug Peterson and Nick Sirianni got to deal with. So that part of it is, you're right. You need to have some balance. I don't think there's any question about that. The balance has come from Jalen Hurts, though. It's a non-traditional running game. The Eagles have actually been pretty effective running the football. It just comes from the quarterback. So what makes that less important than just turning around and handing the football off, or is it just as important?
Well, I think, again, if you're pounding the ball up the middle or just going off tackle, I think it allows your offensive line to get a little bit more physical. If you're just letting Jalen Hurts, run from out of the pocket, you start out as a pass blocker, and then all of a sudden you have to become a run blocker. Let's just see these guys fire off the ball. Dickerson's a big guy. Obviously, Lane Johnson is, Jordan Mailata. Driscoll and Kelsey, not so much, but they can run block, and just let them come off the line, knowing that they're handing the ball off and not counting on Hurts to kind of sweep left or right, or which he does. That's how he picks up his yards, is out of the pocket. And I just want to see a traditional handoff and assert some physicality and mix things up and keep things balanced. I hate when a quarterback throws 45 times a game or 40 times a game. I like to see some balance, and watching the Packers run the ball. Now their running backs were picking up, nice hard fought yards, Dillon and Jones. That was fun to watch. I like to see that punishing style. And people say, oh, well, the screen game is an extension of the run game. I mean, no, I guess it is in one respect, but in the other, it's not that physicality that you like to see your offensive line assert and dominate up front and get confidence, and wear on a defensive line, wear them down. So the pass rush isn't as effective in the fourth quarter or the third quarter even. So, I hope that Nick sees that after, first 7 weeks of the season as a rookie head coach. I hope he sees that and understands that, and Lurie lets him do that.
Even though I'm rooting for and kind of predicting a Boston Scott pretty big game, I'm also hoping for a big Devonta Smith breakout here. And other rookie wide receivers are doing more than Devonta Smith. He gets a touchdown on his first ever grab in the National Football League, and we're waiting for touchdown grab number 2. I watched Cooper Kupp just destroy this defense last week to the tune of 150 yards. Could this be Devonta's big breakout week?
Yeah, you keep waiting. He had a couple bad plays in Vegas last week, a couple drops, made a really nice catch, I think, late in the first half. Nice right on the sideline, got both feet in, good extension. I would hope that this is a game that Devonta Smith can catch 5 or 6 passes and get in the end zone. I'd also like to see them get Quez Watkins more involved with deep passes. I mean, they don't seem to take as many deep shots as I thought they might with Quez Watkins. I don't know if it's because of the protection up front, or Jalen Hurts tends to bail pretty quickly, but Quez has that speed, and they don't seem to be utilizing it as well as I thought they would. We saw that 91-yard catch that didn't result in a touchdown. I think that was against the 49ers, but we really haven't seen them come back to any of that really deep stuff. I think they tried maybe one other time that I can remember. Maybe, John, you can remember more, but they didn't have, but it went incomplete. I think there was a pass they tried deep after that Niners game that fell incomplete, but we haven't seen that much. But yeah, Devonta Smith's the number 1 pick. Jalen Reagor's the number 1 pick. He hasn't been involved at all. You would like to see all these receivers kind of get more involved, and Devonta Smith is kind of the bell cow of this offense. He's the guy you want to get the ball to. He hasn't caught it when it's gone his way. At least he didn't in Vegas, and maybe they start to get him more involved. Like when we saw that touchdown game, Jody, they fed him the ball 4 straight times, 4 straight possessions, and you thought, okay, this is where they're going to play him, and we just haven't seen them do that much. Like, let's see that concerted effort to try to throw him the ball, play after play after play to get him, kind of into a rhythm. Haven't seen that. Maybe this week we will.
Defensively, Ed, it's also been a difficult week for Jonathan Gannon after the latest quarterbacks over 80%, Derek Carr over 90% completion percentage. We know Fletcher Cox thought Steve Nelson thinks it's genius, the defensive scheme, but they haven't been able to execute it. Where does the safeties line up? Flint or East Lansing this week? Do they make adjustments? Are they going to challenge Jared Goff and that Lions offense a little bit more? Nick said it. Jonathan said it. We got to challenge more. What does that mean?
Well, listen, this Lions receiving core isn't, it's certainly not the Dallas Cowboys or some of these great receiving trios we've seen the Eagles play so far this year, or even two of them. I mean, there's I think a rookie, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and got another guy that I can't recall right
Raymond,
now. Yeah, but I mean, it's not any great shake, so it really shouldn't matter where they're lined up. They should be able to, the cornerbacks Slay and Nelson should be able to control these receivers, and then you have your tight end, who's probably the best of them, T.J. Hawkinson. You want to find a way to cover him, whether it's with a linebacker or, maybe you bring Anthony Harris. I'm not sure Anthony Harris is going to play. He's been questionable for practice yesterday. I don't think he practiced on Wednesday. He's got the two thumb injuries and a groin injury. But listen, I don't think this is going to be a big stress on the secondary type day. There should be adjustments, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think the Eagles should be able to control this offense, with their front four, against an offensive line with Halapoulivaati Vaitai up front there playing guard, and their rookie pick Penny Sewell at tackle. But I still think the Eagles should be able to control this game up front. The Lions are an offense that haven't scored more than, I think, 19 points. You mentioned yesterday, I think, John, to me.
Yeah, since week one, yeah.
Since week one, they haven't scored over 19 points. So I think, you should be able to control these receivers with your corners and let your safeties kind of play wherever they're going to play, and it's not going to matter. I really think that because this shouldn't be a game where the Lions score more than 3 touchdowns, no matter where they play.
All right, Ed Kracz, last question is a multiple choice question. Feel free to pick or choose which one of these 3 answers you want to go with, since you're predicting an Eagles loss. Going to be difficult on either of the 3, but which will Nick Sirianni refer to in his post-game press conference? Will it be, I don't care, we're still doubling down on our core values? Will it be, I'm sorry, I still saw a dog mentality out there? Or will it be, all right, the flower didn't bloom just yet, but we still have faith with the fertilizer that we have in Philadelphia. This will come through the soil sooner or later. Which of the 3 is most likely to be part of Nick Sirianni's post-game repartee?
Boy, that's a tough one. Listen, I don't like the fertilizer thing. I live out here in the country in Bucks County, and when they fertilize out here, boy, it smells awful. So you hope that it's not doing too much over fertilizing, because it stinks. I'm going to go with the dog mentality. That's kind of been their concept.
Oh yeah, that's a smart bet right there.
Yeah, that dog mentality, followed by a close second, the double down. But dog mentality is the winner for me.
He gets away from fertilizer. That's probably a pretty good call on your part. Even though you got it wrong, Eagles are going to win this week. All right, Kracz, go back to bed. Thanks for getting up.
Thanks, fellas. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ed.
That's our guy, Ed Kracz, here with us on Birds 365. All right, quick timeout. Come back. If Jeff Kerr's awake, he's going to come on with us. And he texts me back, so I'm assuming he's awake.
Well, he might have went back to sleep. Yeah, you never know.
We made him close to awake. Well, we'll get him up on close to on time. McDonald and McMullen, Birds 365, Mac and Mac guys. Jeff Kerr next.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. 1 free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of stateside vodka. So good, it just disappears.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messon Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia, we celebrated the miracle with pride only 5 years ago. And then the following morning, IBEW Local 98 members went back to work, building this city, rescuing our communities from decay, and inspiring the young men and women of the region to take pride in who we are. Like the Cats, Local 98 members believe in hope. John Doherty, business manager of Local 98, says it this way: the best way not to forget where you come from is to never leave.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
7 on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Got Mac and Mac here on Birds 365. We got the Eagles and the Lions on Sunday in Detroit Motor City. We'll get the insight of another Birds 365 host. He's here filling in whenever Johnny Mac can't do it. We're glad to have him today. We want to get his thoughts on Eagles Lions. Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com with us. All right, Mr. Kerr, you've had all week to think about the Eagles. We had you on Monday. Unfortunately, licking the wounds of the Raiders' loss in Vegas. Have things gotten better or worse for the Eagles since?
Well, it all depends how much you want to elaborate on the flower comments. I mean,
that's kind of what I was leaning toward. I needed your take on it.
I mean, for all you Beauty and the Beast fans out there, I consider the Eagles more of the rose where the petals keep falling than the flower that's growing. But that's just me. Overall, I try not to make too much fun of it, but you have to get your flower jokes in with this football team right now. They're a mess, and I know everybody's trying to play revisionist history this week with, what if they didn't trade Carson Wentz, and what if they would have hired Deuce Staley as their head coach, and, this and that. And I just keep looking at it. Look, they should beat this football team Sunday. Do I think they'll beat the Detroit Lions? I don't know, because Detroit's 0-7, and Jody, you and I have gone back and forth on this. They do play hard every game, and I'm a little more optimistic about the Detroit Lions than I am the Philadelphia Eagles right now.
Jody's down on the Detroit Lions. I'm with you, Jeff. I mean, they could have won 2 games. Obviously, they didn't. That's all that matters. But they have been playing hard for the most part. But I would say that for the Eagles as well. That's not one criticism I would give to either Nick Sirianni or Dan Campbell. But, I mean, the bottom line is both of these cities should have expected growing pains from, Dan has done it before as an interim guy. But, when it's your job and Nick Sirianni as a complete rookie head coach, I don't know. I mean, can we give the guy more than 7 games? Is that overreaction? I think, Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl, and I still shake my head today how quickly people turned on him. I remember writing after the Eagles won in Minneapolis, I said, all right, that's a lifetime dispensation card for Doug Peterson. I literally wrote that. I believed it at the time. I said, they've been waiting for this thing forever. 1960, first Lombardi trophy. They finally got it. I said, all right, this guy's good. Yeah, a blank check. 3 years later, out the door. But I mean, if you want Doug Peterson fired, if you want Jim Schwartz fired, and everybody wants Howie Roseman fired, and then you're 7 games into the next head coach and you want him fired, and the next defensive coordinator, and you want him fired, you become the Cleveland Browns, and you want to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. You want 1968 to 2021 with 3 head coaches. That's the way you're a consistent winning team in the NFL. That's my opinion.
Yeah, my issue with the whole, you got rid of Doug Pearson, you got rid of Jim Schwartz, you got rid of Carson Wentz. Okay, fine. You should have just cleaned house and said how he's going to, and you should have just started from anew. But sometimes I have this feeling they brought in Nick Sirianni to fix Carson Wentz. But Carson Wentz didn't want to be fixed. Carson Wentz, at least here, he wanted to go where he was comfortable. And I don't blame him. You know, it's his right. It's his right as an NFL player. He saw the dumpster fire that we all see and we all talk about every day. And he was probably like, okay, you know what? I need a change of scenery. I want to go back to the Midwest. He got his wish. Do I like how he did that? Probably not. But, you know, he never said anything about it. I kind of hope he never does say anything about his time in Philadelphia, especially last year. But I would have gotten rid of Roseman, Pearson, and Wentz if you're going to do a clean slate. Not keep the guy who is partially responsible for the mess that has become. And you were already a week late into the coaching search anyway. Now, do I think Nick Sirianni is going to be a good head coach? I don't know. I don't like what I've seen through 7 games so far, but I'm willing to give him more than 7 games. But I got to tell you, John, around the league, you know, when you hear overwhelmed, that's scary. Through 7 games already? I mean, things can change, but because I remember what they said about Doug Pearson's first year too, but you saw positive growth. You saw that flower blooming.
It's funny. We had Ricky Ricardo, voice of the Eagles in Espanol, earlier in the week, and he said in over their heads. That was the phrase that he used to describe the Eagle coaching staff, and I've seen at least 3 or 4 other media members go to that exact phrase since, more so after the flower commentary. But that's we've already talked about flowers, and John thinks we beat this to death, so I'll leave that one alone. Eagles on the road. Good thing or bad thing, Jeff Kerr? They've only won 2 games. Both of them came on the road. They seem to be better away from Lincoln Financial Field. If I tell you that's one of the reasons why I'm picking the Eagles, because they're not at home this week. Would you agree?
Well, I would agree with you until last week, but they do seem to play better on the road. And last week was just a train wreck. I mean, you can say the final score was 33-22 all you want till you blew in the face. It was 30-7 when I checked out that game and, you know, started writing all my stuff. But I think what the Eagles need to do here is get off to another fast start. And again, they did get off to a fast start last week, and then they decided to let Derek Carr complete anything across the middle of the field. So I don't know if Jared Goff will be able to do that. He is not on Derek Carr's level. By the way, guys, here's an interesting stat for you, and I really hope the Eagles don't change the narrative here. Jared Goff has never won a game in the NFL when Sean McVay is not his head coach. He's never won one. He's 0-13 or 0-14. And the Lions are on an 11-game losing streak dating back to last year. So I'm really hoping this doesn't change. I think for a team like Detroit, like the Eagles, they do play hard. You got to get out there. You got to build not a 7-0 lead, but you got to make it double digits early. You got to have this team thinking, okay, woe is me again, or, you know, what's going to happen here? And again, maybe Detroit gets a little pass happy at that point, and then maybe the Eagles could tee off like they did in the Atlanta Falcons game in week 1. But I think the Eagles just got to get off to a fast start. I think they do have to commit to running the ball. I'm assuming Jordan Howard's going to get elevated from the practice squad. I think you got to mix and match Boston Scott, Kenny Gainwell, Jordan Howard. And you really do got to show a commitment there. Nick did that last week. I was proud of the guy. And then Miles Sanders got hurt. And then I think that's where the whole overwhelm comments came in. He's like, well, what do I do now?
I think if Jared Goff is listening to this show, Jeff, he just had a Jeff Fisher flashback, and you just got him really upset. But Yeah. The fact that he hasn't been able to win without Sean McVay is until you do it, people are going to keep bringing that up, and rightfully so. Look, it's an 0-17, but I want you to put your Nick Sirianni cap on, and you're done your gardening for the day, and you're game planning. You're sitting there and you're trying to say, okay, how am I going to go about beating the team that's going to bite your kneecaps for 60 minutes? And everybody's saying, well, you got to run the football. You don't have Miles Sanders. You got to be more physical. But you got to get Devontae Smith involved. They're playing 2 undrafted rookie cornerbacks. Not only rookie, undrafted. And, oh, by the way, one of them is hurt. So they may even be further down the depth chart. It's been TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift in the passing game for the Lions. What's your game plan? What are you leaning on to beat the Detroit Lions from an offensive perspective?
Well, from an offensive perspective, I would definitely attack their cornerbacks. I mean, you pretty much explained it right there, John. They just don't have anything right now. And their number 3 overall pick last year, Jeff, I can never pronounce his name.
Okudah.
Yeah, Okudah. Yeah. He's one of those guys that I thought was a great pick for them. Thought he was going to be really good. And lo and behold, he's been injured. And when he has been on the field, he hasn't been effective. And, Detroit's just a mess in the defensive secondary. I mean, Quandre Diggs is no, he's not even there anymore. I forgot he got traded. So,
yeah, he's in Seattle.
Yeah, this just shows you how much I know. I'm still thinking Darius Slay and Quandre Diggs are back there, and obviously
Tracy Walker is probably their best player.
Tracy Walker's still there. That's right. So
yeah, he's a decent safety.
Yeah, but for me, that whole secondary is just an absolute mess from the 2 Lions games I was able to watch this year. And to me, it's you attack them deep, you attack the middle of the field. And Jalen Hurts, this is a game where, dare I say it, you have to throw toward the middle of the field. You have to take your chances. If he throws 2 interceptions and 400 yards this week, so be it. I mean, I don't think he's going to actually throw for 400 yards, but I think this is a game where you got to challenge this Detroit team because they do have a good front 4. Like, I know Trey Flowers is struggling, but Romeo Okwara was pretty good, and he's going to be a good challenge for them going forward. I mean, he was double-digit sacks last year.
Yeah, but he's hurt, Julian. But Julian's played well.
Yeah. Julian's in there too. That's right. But
and Charles Harris has come out of nowhere. But
remember when the Eagles were interested in Charles Harris?
He's actually they've actually been pretty good off the edges, which I think will surprise people. As far as they go with a 3-4 look. And it's pretty much been Flowers and Julian Okwara and Charles Harris. Those are the 3 guys. And they've gotten pretty good pressure. But you're right. Now, Jody's a big Devontae Smith guy. I'm not letting out any secrets here. And, I won't speak for him, and he can jump in if I'm wrong. But, he wants to see a breakout Devontae Smith game. And you see some other rookie receivers in this league putting up big numbers, most notably Jamar Chase. Here's the problem, though. You don't have the high-volume thrower. I've been saying this with Justin Jefferson and Jalen Reagor last year. Well, look who Justin Jefferson's quarterback is. Look who Jamar Chase's quarterback is. These are high-volume throwers. Devontae Smith is not going to put up big numbers in this offense. Am I wrong?
I thought he'd have a good year in spite of his shortcomings, or not his shortcomings, but Nick Sirianni's and Jalen Hurts's. But yeah, you're right, John. It's like we keep looking at what Jamar Chase has done and what Jalen Waddle's doing. Jalen Waddle is not in the best situation either between
that's true.
But he's got a lot of catches. I mean, to me, Devonta Smith has been okay. Hasn't been terrible. He's not a bust, but you see the potential there. The problem is, I just don't think he has enough weapons surrounding him. Like Jamar Chase, he is the alpha in Cincinnati's passing game, but you got guys like, T. Higgins in that offense, Tyler Boyd, CJ Uzuma, guys like that. You got guys around him. Like, who do you got for Devonta Smith? It's Dallas Goedert. Jalen Reagor, he only seems to show up when the games are over. So I don't know. I want to hear Jody's thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think he's had a disappointing year. I thought he was going to be better than this. And oh, by the way, this is the Philadelphia Eagles we're talking about, right? Well, the owner wants him to throw the ball 9 out of every 10 plays. So if the quarterback is not a high volume thrower, somebody's screwing up somewhere. Maybe Mr.
Well, that's
takes
why they're
off.
going to get another quarterback in next year. It's just a matter of who, to me, at this point. It's just a matter of who.
Yeah, but who's it going to be? Malik Wills, Carson Strong? I mean, they're really.
Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett.
Okay.
NFL people are losing their minds over Kenny Pickett.
He did look good last week, but the fifth-year quarterback. Good luck with that. But listening to you two guys extol the virtues of all these players on the Lions, how the hell are they 0-7? If they got all these players that are playing so well, how are they 0-7?
Field goal to beat them, and another guy kicked a 54-yard field goal. It's the only kick Greg Joseph's probably made in the last 3 weeks. I kid.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, well, you're right, but I point out that they've actually, statistically gotten a lot of edge pressure, as I said, near the top of the league. I think they're 6th or 7th. Well, I'm just telling you. But I've also said, how bad the cornerbacks are. So you're only listening to one part of what I'm saying. There's plenty of bad on the Lions, a ton of bad, but there is more good than I think people realize. Like the passing game, they lead the league in yak yardage, which I told Jody, which I was shocked by. But that's not necessarily a good thing because they throw everything underneath.
Yeah, Goff doesn't take any shots. Not like he really has anybody to take shots downfield with. They thought it was going to be Rashad Perriman, Tyrell Williams. Well, Williams is hurt, and Perriman was cut. He's on the Bears now. So, I mean, really, your best receiver is Amon-Ra St. Brown. And he's getting, they're just putting zone coverage on him all day long. And, they're playing guy over the top. So you're going to like Quintus Sif and guys like that. And they just don't have the weapons. It's a shame. But again, this is where I worry about the Eagles. TJ Hawkinson can go off on Sunday, just like, Foster Moreau did the week before. And, how I thought George Kittle was going to do it. If the Eagles are facing the Falcons now, who knows what Kyle Pitts would have done against them.
Yeah, Kyle, it's interesting. The Eagles have only stopped. Well, Kyle Pitts I kind of put away because that was his first game and he just looked out of sorts. But they kind of stopped Travis Kelce and George Kittle, but they can't stop anybody else at tight end. Everybody else goes nuts at tight end. So maybe TJ Hawkinson is not at their level, so they put some effort into trying to stop him. But Jeff, that defense, I think, Nick Sirianni did Jonathan Gannon a solid this week because Jonathan Gannon was taking all the heat right up until the Flower comment. Now Jonathan Gannon's like, nobody cares about Jonathan Gannon, but they have to do something different. And you don't have a deep threats. There's no Tyreek Hill out there, as you mentioned, with Khalif Raymond and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Why you can't play your safeties in Ann Arbor? Where's Michigan playing? Michigan State, East Lansing, I guess.
East Lansing.
You can't play him in East Lansing. You don't need to play him in East Lansing. Do they do something different on the defensive side of the ball this week?
I think they have to make the adjustment. I think you got to listen to your Fletcher Coxes and your Darius Slays. I even think Steve Nelson's a veteran enough where you got to play the safeties in a little more. I think you got to say, you know what, if you're going to beat us, we're not going to – you're going to earn it, but you're going to earn it a different way, as Jonathan Gann likes to point out. You're going to have to beat us with 70-yard passes down the field. You're not just going to dink and dunk your way into the end zone. It's just not going to happen. Khalif Raymond is going to have to beat us up top, or TJ Hawkinson is going to have to make 40, 50-yard catches. And, again, that's not exactly his game, but that's what you got to do. And I would like to see that. I know, dare I say it, because every Eagles fan says it on the planet, blitz more. And here's what I worry about them blitzing more. I don't know if they have the personnel on the front four to even do that right now. Like Derek Barnett has as many sacks as everybody in this chat combined, 0. So I'm looking at that, and I don't know what's going on with Josh Sweat. Maybe he's being put in a position kind of like Fletcher Cox. He's getting paid to get sacks, not cover screens. But again, this team just really misses certain players on offense and defense. Brandon Graham has definitely been one of those guys. I think that's really hurt what Jonathan Gannon is trying to do. So when Brandon Graham says he doesn't have the personnel like he said on the postgame show a couple weeks ago, I think he meant him per se.
Oh, yeah. I saw Brandon this week. He wasn't shy about it. He said at least he's getting an extra year.
JM, by the way, you were talking about high volume throwers, Kirk Cousins and Joe Burrows. Burrow this year, volume throw 24th in the NFL, 32 quarterbacks, 212. Kirk Cousins right now ranked 14th in the NFL most throws. Jalen Hurts 11th. He is more of a high volume thrower than
that's
either
not what I
Cousins
mean.
or
That's
Burrow.
not what I mean. To be a receiver, to be a big time receiver, you have to be with a quarterback that throws for a lot of yards. So I mean, Joe's a very young quarterback. So, and I brought this up the other day on the show. Joe's a very young quarterback, so you can project him. You see what he's going to be. So I went back in Cousins, and going back to his days in Washington, again, 70%, 4,100 yards. That's 2015. 2016, 67%, 4,900 yards. 2017, 64%, bad year for him, 4,000 plus yards. 2018, 70%, over 70, 4,300 yards. 2019, 69%, up near 4,000. 2020, 68%, 4,300. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Accuracy, throwing the football, volume. I'm not talking about individual. I'm not talking about where the football goes. You can go, like we just talked about with the Lions. You can throw the football to TJ Hawkinson, who has 38 receptions at the line of scrimmage, and he might go get 15 yards, whatever. When you're a receiver like Justin Jefferson, you're a receiver like Jamar Chase, yeah, you might go deep. You also might just get the ball on the hitch, but you're going to get the ball, and you're going to get the ball consistently. The Eagles don't get the ball consistently to receivers because the accuracy is not there from the quarterback. The decision-making is not there from the quarterback. They're just not a high-volume passing offense.
Perfect example was Sunday.
You and I don't share the definition of volume. Volume to me means number of throws. The quality of throws, the outcome of throws is something altogether. Volume describes how many times you throw it, number of throws. And Jalen Hurts has thrown it more than either of those two quarterbacks.
Well,
so that's why I didn't understand the point you were trying to make. Volume means number of throws.
But, Jody, you're getting caught up in the semantics. Whatever the definition is, successful passer who throws for a lot of yards, who throws for a high completion percentage. So whatever definition you want to put on that, the Eagles don't have that, so the receivers can't be Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. Now, I'm not saying they have Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase because I don't think they have that player. But I think Devontae Smith has the opportunity to be that type of player. So whatever type of definition you want to put on what Kirk Cousins is, what Joe Burrow is, what quarterbacks like that are, whatever term you want to use, the Eagles don't have that. So until they get that, their best receiver is never going to be those types of receivers from a number standpoint.
Right.
That's
I
all
would
I'm
describe
saying.
it as quality of quarterback, not volume of quarterback. Volume means number of throws to me. All right, I got a question for Kerr before we let him run. How close are you with your buddy Cody Benjamin of CBS Sports?
I talk to Cody pretty much every day. He's a big Eagles fan too. So
is he?
Yeah, he is.
Explains it.
Does he live relatively close to here?
Cody actually grew up in Lancaster. He lives with his wife in Minnesota now. So
Minnesota. Okay.
Yeah. He did the opposite of McMullen.
I need you to pass this along to Cody for me. Tell him that if the Eagles trade Derek Barnett and get a conditional third-round pick, like he wrote on CBS, I will drive to Minnesota. I will take he and his wife out to his restaurant of choice within a 50-mile radius of his house. If he's correct that Derek Barnett gets traded for a conditional third-round pick, Was he drinking when he wrote that column?
I actually
was
said
he
to
enjoying
Tony,
the best Minnesota brew he could get his hands on? What the hell was he thinking?
I actually said to him, like, Cody, you think Derek Barnett's tradable? I think they could just cut him and no one would want him.
Yeah, no, I said to Jody yesterday when he brought it up, I said he's probably an Eagles fan. He's probably hoping to get a yeah, I mean, Barnett. I think Derek Barnett's a better player than Jody does, and probably you, Jeff. But he's not getting you from the contract alone. He's not getting you a 3rd round pick, and he's not. It's not. You can look at it 2 ways if you're the Eagles. I mean, he's not going to be here next year, so whatever you get might be a positive, or a 6th or 7th round pick is not worth it, so you might as well play out the string. I could see either argument.
Yeah, so I did like 3 trade possibilities for the Eagles, more of players they could sell. And, I didn't even mention Derek Barnett. I didn't mention him. I didn't mention Ryan Kerr because I'm like, they're not even worth it. It was Andre Dillard and Steve Nelson. They were the 2. And I don't even think they should trade Steve Nelson. I basically put reasons why you don't trade him because you don't trust anybody behind him right now. You don't trust Zach McPherson. Do you really want to move Avonte Maddox out of his comfort zone in the slot on the outside? No. So I'm like, I mean, if you can get something of value for him, sure, but I wouldn't do it. Like, Dillard was the only one. And I even threw Miles Sanders in there just because, just for the heck of it. And, because I had to mention 3, and I'm like, they shouldn't do this either. I really don't want them to do this, but I was like, well, look, Nick doesn't really value running the ball as much as I thought he did. And the one time he did, Miles gets hurt, and Miles probably isn't worth anything now for 2022. So I did like a 2023 pick. And I'm like, I get this team wants to sell, but you don't sell players. That was basically the gist of the article. Like, Andre Dillard was the only player I thought they could get something for over the next couple days.
All right, Jeff Kerr, we need a pick. Eagles, Lions. How do you see it coming out?
Oh, God, you guys are going to hate me. I'm picking Detroit.
No.
I got to do it. There's too much karma here. Jared Goff never won a game without Sean McVay. The Eagles are a dead flower. Yeah, I know. I'm beating this. And they're due for a win. The Eagles haven't beaten Detroit since the Snow Bowl, right? I think that's their curse. They can't beat the Lions. And I don't know.
I don't think that's anybody's curse, Jeff. That can't beat the Lions. Everybody beats the Lions.
If the Eagles lose to the Lions, you guys are going to love me on this show Monday because I'm just
we will have you back on Monday because J-Max got to hightail it back out of Detroit. He'll be coming in under persona as well because if the Eagles lose, he'll be burying his head just like yours truly, who's picking an Eagle win. You can hold your head high because you pick a lot. But if you're here on Monday, I am going to abuse you if the Eagles win by double digits, Kerr. Remember, write it down. So. Jody Mack said Eagles by double digits.
Hey, I got my first L of the season. I thought for sure they were going to beat Vegas, and then I thought they were going to beat Detroit. They'd be 4-4 to get destroyed by the Chargers. I already got everything mapped up in my head here. So, I thought the second half of the year they were going to turn around, and they still can, but I mean, hey, if they're 3-5 after 8, the way things are going, I think I take that.
Fair enough. Jeff, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you jumping on board. We will see you Monday here on Birds 365.
See you guys Monday.
Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff Kerr.
By the way, Jody, before we hit that last break, I do find it ironic that through the entire offseason, like I get ripped for being so negative. I say, well, Jalen Hurts has got a lot to prove. I just get ripped. And then we're in the season. I'm like, well, it's not as bad as you think it is. And I just get ripped for it. I just get ripped for not going to the extremes. Everything's great in the off season when you're not seeing the team playing. And then in the season, fire this guy. Fire, cut this guy. Cut that. It's unbelievable.
All right. And we'll see if John McMullen will get ripped again. Because he needs to get on the official record. Yeah, he made some pick at PhillyVoice.com. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is John McMullen's pick right here on Birds 365. Come back, find out if he's taking Lions or Eagles next.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messon Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia, we celebrated the miracle with pride only 5 years ago. And then the following morning, IBEW Local 98 members went back to work, building this city, rescuing our communities from decay, and inspiring the young men and women of the region to take pride in who we are. Like the Cats, Local 98 members believe in hope. John Doherty, business manager of Local 98, says it this way: the best way not to forget where you come from is to never leave.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
The Mac and Mac guys putting a bow on the show, wrapping up a Football Friday get-together, looking ahead to Lions-Eagles on Sunday. The Lions come in at 0-7. They build them up, puff them up, say whatever positive you have to say
I like
about
to
them.
call him. Remember when Lou Holtz would talk up everybody?
Oh, he was the best at it.
Sisters of the Poor.
They're playing Navy. They're Notre Dame playing Navy. They're favored by 41 points. This could be our toughest game of the year. I've been watching the film on this Navy team. They do things different. He was the best at overselling an overmatched opponent. I'm not saying that this is Notre Dame in its heyday against Navy when they couldn't beat anybody, but the Lions are 0-7. The Eagles aren't quite Notre Dame title contending level right now. But I think the Eagles are in a spot to win a game. I think that they will, like they did last week against the Raiders, score on their first possession, go right down the field and get a touchdown. This time they'll be better. Jared Goff isn't good enough to do what Mr. Carr did last week. I don't think he just picks them off underneath. I think Jonathan Gannon will actually do what he said this week, which is challenge more and maybe take the reins off a little bit. Maybe get the safeties up into Grosse Pointe Woods rather than way the hell out on the Canadian border from Detroit. Yeah, I think they're going to give a better defensive effort. I not only think they're going to win by double digits, I think they'll be up by more than that. I would not be surprised if they were up along the lines of 20-3, somewhere thereabouts. I think they're going to open up. I think Detroit will score last to make it look closer than it actually has been, which they've done plenty this year. I'm giving a final score of 28-18, which I know is kind of a weird score. But last week I had the Raiders scoring 33, and they scored exactly 33 points.
You always get weird scores, which I didn't pick a weird score.
28-18. Yeah. Write it down.
Yeah. You're probably right on the weird score. I should have went 22-19, but I went 23-20. but I'm going to redo it because I do it too early. So I am going to go 22-19.
22-19?
22-19 Eagles. Jake Elliott at the buzzer from 54 will win the game. Look, the Lions are not a good team. I'm not going to Lou Holtz them. They're a little bit better than people think as an 0-17, but they're not a good team. The Eagles are not a good team. So I think you got two poor teams battling it out. And I think the Eagles are a little bit better, and they've proven that they can win a game, and the Lions have it. So until the Lions can win a game, I'm not picking them to win a game. Simple as that.
And I don't think the Lions are going 0-17. If they do, they'll be the first one ever because we've never played 17 games before. The biggest season ever in the history of the National Football League.
Season ever. You know, we had Dave Burkett on. He said, you asked him that question. Were you there in 2008?
Right.
With Rod Marinelli. And he was, and he thinks this team is better. I agree with him. I don't think they're going to go 0-17. I think they're going to win a game, and they think this is a game they can win. Maybe they're right, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Which I've always asked myself. Dan Orlovsky is used aplenty on ESPN. He pops up absolutely everywhere. I think if you go 0 for a season, that should disqualify you from being an analyst on major television after the fact. But that's
I like Dan.
I'm a bad guy.
Dan as an analyst.
He's actually pretty good, although he's
still too much of a Carson Wentz lover.
Right, still defending Carson Wentz after the god awful season that Carson Wentz had last year. But he's actually pretty good at what he does. I'm just pimping him because he went 0 for. I'm sorry, if you go 0 for, you get pimped. The Lions are 0 for 7. You're getting pimped.
Well, I don't remember.
You're going to 0 for 8, Detroit.
He wasn't the starter that entire year. He couldn't have been.
He started more games than anybody else.
Yeah, well,
They had Orlovsky, Kitna.
Kitna, that's right. Kitna
even
was
Dante Culpepper was
Kitna was the starter, was the opening day starter, and he got hurt. And that kind of not that Kitna was great, but that kind of set things off in a negative. Anytime you lose your starting quarterback, you're going to have an issue. No question about that.
But this year's Lions squad is, I think, quite similar to that year's Lions squad. So I'm not predicting.
I'm not a big Jared Goff fan, but I think he's better than Dan Orlovsky.
And we debated a lot when Jared Goff just mentioned this segment. Carson Wentz, we're in the draft together. And Goff went 1 and Carson went 2. And they're both trying to find their way in the National Football League. I don't believe Jared Goff finds his way this week. What I do believe is 2 guys who I think are going to have big games for the Eagles. And if I've got them holding the Lions to only 18 points, somebody's got to play well on the defense. All right, I'll give you one of those too. Big play Slay has another pick. He got 2 a couple of weeks ago. When Darius Slay gets an interception, the Eagles were undefeated this year. I'd be 1-0. Don't know if he's going to get 2, but I think he'll get 1 because I think they'll go after him, and I think he'll be up to the challenge. He could be that maybe that's Lions are driving and he gets a picked up pass in the end zone in the first half towards the Lion drive, which would be huge for them. I do think after the Eagles come out throwing the ball effectively, mostly to Devonta Smith and grab that early lead, I think they will run it for a period of time in the middle of the game to try and keep the Lions off the field. And I think Boston Scott's going to have a good game.
I almost chuckled when you said keep the Lions off the field. That's one where we talk about the defer question. You and I are on the same page, typically. No, you defer against the Lions. You want the ball in the second half. You don't defer against Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. You take control. You want to take control of the game. So I think there's a little bit of common sense to that approach, but nobody does it anyway. How you can be scared of this Lions offense? I can't be scared of it. Khalif Raymond, we talked about Amon Ross, St. Brown. Those are your receivers. This is the only week all season, Jody. You'll go into the game and say the Eagles have the better receivers. The only week all year.
And I will, as you just stated, not badmouth the coach if he decides to defer. If he wins the toss and he defers this week, I'm okay with you on that one, Coach. I think you still need to upgrade the offense. And we know Jonathan Gannon's going to get a little more aggressive on defense. I think you get a little more aggressive on offense. But in this case, this one situation, go ahead, give the Lions the ball. And then give your boy JG a chance to show that he's going to challenge more right off the bat. All right, so you got Eagles 22-19 and a late field goal. So you got it tied at 19 late in the game.
19. Yep, tied at 19. And the Eagles, Jalen Hurts makes a big play to put Jake Elliott in position, and Jake bangs it through.
That's what we like to hear. I got it Eagles 28-18 instead. And no late heroics needed. Actually, the Eagles will be up more than that. The Lions will get the by the way score, which they've gotten plenty of times already this year. They'll get one more, but it'll only get them within 10 points. Eagles win easy. All right, so we both got Eagle wins. Well, I'll be here on Monday. McMullen will be moseying back from Detroit, but the flight's right at 8 o'clock, though, so you're
8
out for the
o'clock
entire
on
show?
the crop duster, 8 in the morning. Hoping I don't like those small planes, man. I don't like them.
All right, so if the Eagles lose, sorry for those of you guys on the stream and our commentators, and we love these guys. You can't take any shots at John until Tuesday. He won't be back till Tuesday.
Oh, they'll take plenty. That's fine. But remember who told you.
Because I'm predicting the Eagles to win by double digits.
Remember who told you in the offseason that everybody wasn't going to be great. And now you want them all fired.
We shall see. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks to Ed Kracz, even though he's late. It's overslept. But he did make the show. Thanks to Jeff Kerr for hopping on. Partner, safe trip to Detroit. I'll talk to you on Tuesday. Thanks, as always, to Xander for producing today's show. Be back here on Monday as we celebrate an Eagles win on Birds 365.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on